Guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 14 kicks off in just 48 hours. So we're going to take questions from everybody that's over here watching the Twitch stream. And if you're not over here on Twitch, I know that these videos on YouTube have their own audience. You guys like things to be encapsulated. But if you wanted to be there for the live stream, I will be live on Sunday. I'm live 6 days a week, but I will be live this Sunday, 45 minutes before kickoff, if you want to try and get some questions in before the slate locks on the Anti-Tinkercast. 45 minutes before kick, twitch.tv/Al_smizzle. There's links down below. It's all in the link tree as well. We take a look at cash game lineups, tournament lineups, any type of question that they would have about bankroll management or anything else to try and give you the best show comprehensively to answer as many questions as you might have for the week 14 slate. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Week 14 Smiz Gang Listener League is posted on DraftKings. It is not posted to the lobby. You have to go through my links to get there. And if you want to know where my links are, go to smizzle.tv/links. It's very simple and straightforward and makes a lot of sense. $10 to enter, 3 max, $35,000 in prizes. All of that goes right back out. The best tournament that exists on DraftKings because it is absolutely no rake. So go to smizzle.tv/links and get your entry into the Listener League today. And I will shout out the top 10 finishers on the weekly recap video that comes out every Monday on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel. One announcement before I bring in the chat. I will be in New Orleans for the DraftKings Championships next weekend. So I will not have a 5 under 5 video. I will not have this video next Friday. And there will not be a cage match next week because I will be traveling to try and win a whole lot of money in the Rainmakers Championship. I will try to get a couple of other videos. Producer Rosie will get them posted up for you guys, and I will post 5 under 5 maybe as a post either here in the community, or you should join our Discord. And if you're a channel member, which is $5 a month here on YouTube, you just become a channel member. You click join. And if you're watching on an Apple iPhone, they don't have the join button on the YouTube app there because they'd have to pay Apple 30%. So you got to go to smizzle.tv/join if you wanted to link to that through a browser. $5 a month gets you access in the Discord to all of the VIP channels that are in there. Our mods can help you walk through that. So surround yourself with the best community that exists in daily fantasy. And while I'm talking about them, why don't we just bring all of them in here and I'll take questions from the chat. One that's before that went away. Season long, you need to choose ceilings. These good guys. You played Derek Carr last night. Connor or Wilson. I would go with Wilson. Connor's got a really tough matchup this week. Crewhound says I am vouching for the Discord. The Discord is very, very strong. What are the favorite value wide receivers under 5K? I mean, look, a lot of stuff this week is going to center around. A lot of stuff this week is going to completely center around everything in the Minnesota game. You know, that's just where we're at. You know, that Minnesota game is essentially what you're looking at for value. So there's not much under 5K. We can go take a look at it if you'd like to, right? Let me bring up the page again over here. We'll go look under 5K. I don't think that there's all that much. DPJ at 4,900 is fine, but you're reliant on a long pass. Obviously, they should be in passing game scripts as they project to play from behind in this one. A lot of players dinged up in this range. We have to wait to see if Treylon Burks is going to play. Michael Gallup is a solid play, but okay. Blowout potential, specifically in this game. I've mentioned this many times before that, like, as soon as you get a game that has a large spread, 10 plus points, people tend to shy away from the pass games in those because, well, they're just going to run the ball the whole day. Well, like, if they score 35 points and their total right now, I believe, is 31, the Cowboys, how are they scoring all those touchdowns? All of them could happen via the run, or in the first half, Dak might have 3 touchdown passes, and if one of them's a long one to Michael Gallup, that would be just fine. Houston's a great team for us to attack with opposing running backs, and obviously the Cowboys have 2 really, really good running backs that kind of cannibalize one another because nobody is getting 25 touches in a game between Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. But like, I like a lot of these guys for GPP. Probably Gallup and Collins would be my 2 favorites, and then DJ Chark, who's a little bit less expensive. He's a little bit cheaper, right? He's 43. Would also be somebody with 11 targets and in the highest totaled game of the day, not the highest team total of the day, but the highest total game of the day. With this one being at like 53, if 7 touchdowns fall, let's say this game has a total that ends around the total, plus or minus 3. between 50 real life and 56 real life points. That is like 7 or 8 touchdowns possible that could fall out of this game. If 7 or 8 touchdowns fall out of this game, that's a lot of fantasy goodness to go around. And if that does happen, DJ Chark could latch on to the end of one of those. 11 targets over the last 2 weeks. I think those are my favorite guys under that price, but all of them, I believe, are kind of GPP caliber players. Is Nico out? Did I miss that this morning? Because he wasn't out as of yesterday. Ooh, that's brand new. Trending to towards missing Sunday's game. Okay, if he's out, then Philip Dorsett at 3K gets a bump. You know, the other guys get massive bumps because there's just nobody left. Because let's assume that Brandon Cooks isn't going to play, and now Nico Collins isn't going to play. And Nico Collins has seen like so many targets over the last few weeks. 10, 9, 7, 10. That like, it's just, it's very thin, right? All the wide receivers for them are very thin. If Brandon Cooks not participating in practice Friday, probably not going to play because mad. Chris Moore steps into a high snap, high volume role. Philip Dorsett steps into a high snap, potentially high volume role. Jordan Akins should see a lot of targets, 11 the last 2 weeks because of the absence of him. Cooks at 2,800. But like, are you expecting any sort of touchdown upside at that point? They could score 6 points. Now, if they hang 17 on the Cowboys, then sure, it's you got upside for touchdowns, but it's weird. It's very, very weird. Yeah, 13.5 is their team total in this game. It's ugly. Dallas stack without bringbacks. Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. Again, there are certain situations where I'm fine breaking the rules. That's one. You don't have to play bringbacks from every single team. It's okay to use guys as a one-off, right? May not be worth it to play any Houston players. Sure. Akins might get enough value or enough volume to pay off because he's 2,800 at a position where you can get away with like 8-9 points. Is Homer a top play? I don't know if top play is the right answer. I don't know if there's a massive ceiling if Walker's out. We still have an awful lot of question marks on this slate, right? Joe Mixon trending towards playing. I think that he is a fantastic cash game play. Do you lock ASB in Goff stacks and Jefferson in Cousins stacks? So do you think, here's the question that I ask myself whenever I'm deciding whether or not to lock a player in a stack with a quarterback. Can Jared Goff have a 25 plus point DraftKings day without Amon-Ra St. Brown? Is that possible? Can he throw for 300 plus and 3 touchdowns without Amon-Ra St. Brown busting a grape? Because if no, then every one of my Goff stacks is going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown in them. Do you think that Kirk Cousins can have a 20, and I'm saying 25 plus because of where they're priced, mid 5Ks, 5,600, 54, you know, like they're in that range. So like, I don't need 30 plus points out of a 5,500 quarterback. I would love 30 plus points. Like that's how you'd win a GPP. If a $5,500 quarterback scores you 35 fantasy points, and obviously would have to bring other guys along with him because Jared Goff is not running for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jared Goff, if he has that type of day, 30 plus points, he's got 4 or 5 touchdowns and 400 yards passing and 30 completions, which means that all of those PPR points went to pass catchers. So if you don't think that Cousins can get to that point level without JJ really helping a lot, then you need to tie JJ to him. Now, looking back at week 3, JJ got shut down by this Detroit Lions team, right? JJ had his lowest point total of the year, I believe. He had like 6 targets, 3 catches as Detroit made a concerted effort to just make someone else beat them. We're not going to let you throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. He's too good. We can't stop him one-on-one. So we're going to let you throw it to Irv Smith. We're going to let you throw it to KJ Osborne. We're going to let you throw it to Adam Thielen. We are not going to let you throw. They were bracketing him at all times. You remember there was an old photo of Calvin Johnson. Calvin, let me look this up. Johnson double team. There was an old photo, and I think it was the Saints who were playing him. Here it is. This is the coverage that Calvin Johnson used to see, right? This is how they lined up. That's essentially what they were doing to JJ without being that dramatic about it. But essentially it was just that. And they said, okay, throw it somewhere else. And so they threw it somewhere else. They treated him like he was a gunner on punt returns. Said, just throw it anywhere else. This side's closed. And so they did. You know, that's what they did. And to some degree, it worked. Because, you know, it was a 28-24 game. Minnesota won that game, but it was very close and competitive. Now, they may do the same thing, and it may work again. Or, there's always an or Minnesota has now grinded the tape, which is what coaches do, and figured out a way to make it work by they do a very good job of moving JJ around and scheming him into open spots to get him easy catches, to get him moving, because it's better for their offense if they do that. You know, pick one, Prescott or Herbert. Croatia does not have an NFL team. No, they don't. That's true. If Burks is out, Westbrook Akine in for cheap salary. I think he's fine. I also think that the tight end is fine. Okonkwo. I want to say Okonkwo, but it's Okonkwo. Bounce back game for the Kansas City offense. See, so like, DT, is that your wallet or your heart talking? Because DT is a big Kansas City fan. So I need to know if he's asking with his heart or asking with his wallet. Because this is a tough spot. You know? This is a very tough spot for Kansas City's offense because Denver is a very tough defense that has really not allowed a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns at all. Oh yeah, Mahomes is always going to have a high ceiling. But like, let's take a look at Denver's defense. 10 points, 10 points, 23 points, 22. Sorry, yeah, 10 points, 23 points, 22 points, 17 points, 17 points. Now, yeah, Carolina, Baltimore, Vegas. Like, Vegas probably the best offensive team in this group. 17, Jets 16, Chargers 19, Indy, that's a bad team. Las Vegas, again, their only time that they went over. Kansas City is the best offense that they have played, you know, but they just don't allow teams to score a lot of points. They play extremely slow. 182 passing yards, 164 passing yards. Again, Baltimore, Cleveland. 298 against Las Vegas. Like, they can be had, they just can't be had in one spot. But luckily, Kansas City doesn't rely on one outside threat that Patrick Surtain can shut down, and it's very hard to deal with Travis Kelce. So there's multiple options, and they are a very creative offense. I think that he's going to challenge for 300 yards passing. The problem is it's going to be very hard for them to get 4 touchdown passes out of this game. But hard to bet against Mahomes. I think that the probability of him having a tournament winning day and a tournament winning day for Patrick Mahomes, I haven't really weighed the price versus probability versus percentages yet on Patrick Mahomes. I honestly have not done that. But like, if you look at the teams that he's put up 30 against, and he did it against San Francisco when they won 44-23, right? Put up 423 yards and 3 touchdowns. So like, it's doable, you know, certainly doable. So I think Mike White could be a good option in large field GPPs. Definitely. I wonder if he's the Hurts of last week, high ceiling, nobody on him. Was nobody on Hurts last week? Because that was okay. That's a totally different story. Hurts last week was playing against Tennessee, who is very much a pass funnel, right? They're a tough team. They have a really big, strong, talented defensive line, and they don't allow a lot of rushing yards per game. Tennessee. They do allow an awful lot of passing yards per game. You know, 276 pass yards a game. They allow 83 rushing yards per game. Hurts was 4%. Quarterbacks are never that highly played. They aren't. And especially expensive quarterbacks, especially expensive quarterback stacks, they're just not, right? So, because it's restrictive, and people tend to play players that are popping as really good values, like almost like on median projection. So like, when a player pops as a good value, they pop as a good value on median projection. It's like, oh, this guy is going to get me 2.8, fantasy points per dollar spent. But that's not all that important in tournaments. You know, you're not going to win a tournament on median projection. If you look up like the cash game lineup, just run a vanilla, single lineup vanilla on your optimal lineup for whatever site you use. Using Fantasy Labs, rotogrinders, using, the solver for ETR. I don't care which one you're using. Just run an optimal right now as you're watching this on YouTube, or if you guys are watching live, and then look at the projected points that it is projected to score. It's not going to be high. It's going to try and get close to like 150 points because it's going to aspire to score 3 per dollar. Amber, there's no way that a median projection on any site is totaling up to 183 points. That would mean there is so much absurd value that you're getting 3.6 points per dollar. There's no way, unless you're doing on ceiling, because ceiling would be, yeah, sorry, had it set to ceiling. Yeah. If you're based on projected points, you're going to get around 140 to 150 because that's your cash game goal. If you hit one, it hides under desk. If you hit 150 in cash games, you're going to be profitable in head-to-heads more weeks than not, unless it's a really weird chalk attacks week, right? Like where the 3 highest played players all have 35 to 45 points, then you're going to need more than 150. But you're also going to be on those players in cash games, so like you're going to score more than 150. Most weeks, if you hit 150 plus in cash games, you are profitable. 150 exactly on RG. I just ran ETRs. It's 145.2. I could run Fantasy Labs for you, and it's probably going to be close to that as soon as I can switch. Fantasy Labs, optimize. Theirs is 132. Fantasy Labs has players projected at a lower point spot, but the lineup looks very similar. Their projections are just lower across the board. Doesn't mean the player's going to score less. It's just that's what they have. You know, just is what it is. But like, are the players the same? Like, if I projected Amon-Ra St. Brown, if one site projects Amon-Ra St. Brown for 18 points, but another site projects him for 25 points, he's going to have a different point per dollar on both of those systems, as long as they're consistent with all of their projections and everything else. You're going to end up with a very similar lineup on optimal from one site to the next with just like a 2v2 or a 3v3 swap. Do I like McKinnon? You're not going to get a lot out of McKinnon. McKinnon's a push and pray option, right? He's somebody that you would play in tournaments who's not going to be how can I give you a okay. Playing Jerick McKinnon at 4,600 in tournaments is almost like playing a 3-target wide receiver in tournament. Can he get there? Yes. Right? Can he have a 16, 17 point game? Most definitely. You know, it's a thing that could happen. If he gets like a 40-yard touchdown screen pass and goes, then you can get there. But it's awfully thin. Like there was a few years ago, there was a guy named like Dante Moncrief, and he was on the Colts at the time. So that's how long ago it was. It was before he was on the Steelers. And he had a tournament day where he had 2 catches. Like I think he had 3 catches for 2 touchdowns and 130 yards on 4 targets. 3-target receiver. Oh, you mean Devontae Adams? Too soon. The Raiders fans are now triggered, right? And he got there, but also that was a really thin play. So like we talk about this on the recap video every single week about, okay, when I was wrong, was I, did I get unlucky, or was it a process mistake? Or when I was right, were we right, or did we get lucky? So like if you played Moncrief on a week like that where he has 3 catches, like what was it? It was Gabe Davis. We had a ton of points, like 30 points earlier this year, but it came on like a 60-yard touchdown, a 93-yard touchdown. You have 4 targets that game. You're not winning that transaction as much as if you play the guy who gets 8+ targets. Now you were right, but you got lucky. We just need to admit where we got lucky. So yes, you can play Jerick McKinnon as an off the reservation play at 4,600 in full PPR, but realize what it is you're signing up for. You're signing up for a very low volume player where you're gonna need a touchdown to pay off in a tournament where you don't need 3x, you need like 4 or 5x from your players. He has very little 2 touchdown upside in a game where they're playing a defense that has basically had games go under the total every week but one this year. So I think it's thin. What do I think the best quarterback wide receiver stack with a bringback is? Top Stacks is already out. We did that yesterday. Basically just stack the Lions and Vikings, and that's the best ones. Yeah. Core cash game plays. All right, we can do that. Let's go over to let's bring up the screen again. Let's go back over here. Core cash game plays. They're gonna start here. Probably him. Definitely Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a lock. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a pure, unadulterated lock play in cash games. I also think that Joe Mixon is as close to a lock as we're going to get, assuming that he plays, because all signs are pointing to yes. Okay? All signs pointing to yes with Joe Mixon. I think that the way to go at tight end, I don't think that there is a defined cash game core this week, which is interesting on a 10-game slate, right? the shorter the slate, the less plays there are, the more consolidated people get with the players that they're going to play and everything else. I think that those guys are going to be the most played guys. Also, Denver, I hate playing Denver players, right? But Denver is going to be assumedly without Cortland Sutton, right? We're assuming he's not going to play. If he doesn't play, Jerry Jeudy at 5,400 is interesting. Obviously, you project to play from behind when you play against the Chiefs. You project to be in more passing situations, and we want as many targets as we can possibly get. The Chiefs have a team total of 26. The Broncos really don't have a high team total, but I think that paying down at tight end is going to be like the way this week, and I could definitely see people going for someone, even though I don't think that he's a cash game lock. I think that somebody like Dulcich is in play, and I think that there are two other tight ends. We mentioned Akins earlier in the show. If Nico Collins indeed actually is out for targets per dollar, and then Okonkwo as well at 27. I think one of those three tight ends is going to end up being the most. I'm not saying the optimal, like he will be the highest scoring tight end. I think that they will be the most played tight ends to allow you to pay up somewhere else, because I think that we're going to get 3 to 4 players. When the final cash game lineup is done, we're going to end up with 3-4 players from this game, and it may look something like this, or it may look something like this. And to get to that, you need to like punt off the tight end spot and get really cheap there and really cheap at defense. I don't know if Jefferson's going to end up in the cash game, but I would say that this is probably going to be where a lot of things start this week. You know, it's early. Any thoughts on the sweater game? You're talking about the Christmas Day game on Rainmakers, I assume. The fact that they're talking about splitting Dulcich out as a wide receiver. So, like, I like that less. I don't like that at all. Garrett Wilson's certainly in play at 5,900 as well, yeah. I'm not sure that he's a lock yet, but, like, he's a good value. Like, you could throw him in there. Like, if you wanted to do this as a cash game starter, right? If you were like, I need somewhere to start my cash game lineups with, this is a really good start. 20 to 25 opportunities. You know you're going to get like 9+ targets here, and you should get 7-8+ targets here. Really good place to start, and leaves you with 4,900, and you got a defense, let's say 2,600 and down for a defense is going to boost that as well. You'll still have 27,000-ish to spend on the rest of this stuff. You know, and I think it's, I don't know, maybe Burrow or Jared Goff at quarterback. It's weird to think that Jared Goff could be the optimal quarterback. That's your 3 stud running backs with a couple of punts. Yeah. So, like, I don't like tight ends that line up at wide receiver. I know that sounds weird. You know, I know that sounds weird, because you're like, why? Why don't you like him playing at wide receiver? Because they're big and slow. And when you line up at wide receiver, you play other guys who are not small. Cornerbacks aren't small. Let's stop pretending that cornerbacks are small. They're 6 feet tall. They're 5'11" to 6'2", and they're very quick and very agile. And the thing that you want more than anything from any of your pass catchers is the ability to separate. So is it easier to separate against a linebacker or a safety, or is it easier to separate as a big, slow, you know, tight end? And a lot of these tight ends are very athletic, but they're still bigger and slower and less agile than wideouts are. They're not as crisp of route runners, so they struggle to get separation against cornerbacks when they're guarded by cornerbacks. And so even the best tight ends, like of all time, show worse efficiency numbers and way less separation when they're lined up against cornerbacks, as opposed to plays where they're lined up against linebackers or safeties, as next gen stats have provided us. If you look at Gronkowski's career, he like crushes linebackers and safeties, and he's very pedestrian whenever other teams put a cornerback on him. So lining up your tight end at wide receiver, it's like, ooh, they're lining him up at wide receiver. And I'm like, it kind of sucks. Stop doing that. Let them run against safeties and linebackers, and you'll win way more. Win the route, not win games. You'll win that play. Stop putting your big slow guy up against a really fast guy. Not a smart idea. Why is Wilcox, tight end, Cincinnati, popping in an optimal? Because Double H might not play this week. Gates in his prime was one of the few exceptions. No. All of their numbers are worse against cornerbacks. Tight ends do not get open as much against cornerbacks than they do against linebackers and safeties. Thoughts on Huntley as a QB play? I like him. He's solid. He wasn't bad last year. Like, are we pretending that like he didn't have games where he put up like a good amount of points for his salary? Now, as his salary goes up, it's a little bit worse. I don't like that game. The thing that I like targeting Is Muth the best bring back for Pittsburgh? Yeah, probably. I want to target teams. I want to target quarterbacks from teams that have high scoring expectations. You will win more interactions over a larger sample size of time because quarterback scoring is tied to efficiency. Efficiency is tied to touchdowns. Team totals are greatly affected by touchdowns. And when you get a team that scores a lot of points, your quarterback will typically also score a lot of points. They go together, chocolate and peanut butter. So if you target quarterbacks from high scoring environments, you will score more fantasy points unless random stuff happens. Deontay Foreman, decent for GPP. Love him for GPP. Don't love him for cash. Love him in GPP. Don't love him for cash because he requires a specific game script for him to smash. And he has a big floor ceiling differential. Deontay Foreman has a 5-point floor and a 35-point ceiling, where like an Austin Eckler has a 14-point floor and a 35-point ceiling. Same thing goes in that range. So you say, well, you know, they're priced way differently, right? Yeah, of course they're priced way differently. Guys like Eckler versus guys like Foreman. Foreman's here at 5,400. Seattle has been a very inefficient defense. I get it. If they play this game close, if they're within 3 points and this game gets close to the total, because like right now, Seahawks are favored by 3.5, but the total is 43. So cut that in half, 21 and a half. Seahawks, like, let's say by 3.5. So cut that in half. It's like 2.75. Add that together and subtract it from the 21 and a half, and you get like 19 points for Panthers on an implied team total, right? That's like 2 touchdowns they're expecting from this team. Could he get one? Sure. If they're up or in a neutral game situation for the entirety of this game, I could see Deontay Foreman, even in a game on the road where they're underdogs, getting 20 plus touches, right? Could definitely happen. But what about this game? They lost 13-3, 11 touches, 12 opportunities. He's not involved at all in the passing game, and this matters. So like in that price range, are there other guys that we can target who are going to get more usage in the passing game? Leonard Fournette, limited at practice Thursday, and I believe I saw a tweet before I went live that said that he didn't practice and was trending towards possibly not playing this weekend. So let's work off of that. If Fournette does not play, Rachaad White is in a spot, again, on the road and an underdog. Bad spot for a running back, typically, right? But like, give me a road underdog running back who's going to get 6, 7, 8 targets over a road underdog running back who's going to get no targets because DraftKings scoring is full PPR. So if Rachaad White, and the last time that Rachaad White was like the guy, let me look this up. White, I'll get you guys this in just a second. So the last time Rachaad White was the guy, let's look over here on Fantasy Labs. I'll make this big. So this is their player card, right? Green means they scored above expectations. They have graphs, and pie graphs, and line graphs, and these bars. It makes it look really official, right? It makes it look like this is a stock market. It's great. Let's go to game logs. Here's the game against the Browns where Fournette sat. He played 62 of 69 snaps. You're no longer getting, if Lenny's there, he's playing 33 of 80. He's playing 45 of 75. He's playing 29 of 84. If no Lenny, okay? If no Lenny, 62 of 69 snaps. He plays like 90% of the snaps. You know, that's really strong. And considering that when he plays that amount of snaps, he got 9 targets and 9 receptions. This game, he only played 33 snaps, still had 8 targets in a game because they were losing, right? Game they were losing against the Saints. So we put ourselves in a position to have a much higher floor for a road underdog running back. Always choose, like I said this in one of the videos that I put out this August in the How to Win on DraftKings playlist. And if you haven't checked out the How to Win on DraftKings playlist, go check that out. It's right here on this channel, and it's got all the different ways and strategies that you can look. It was either on the 5 things you need to do or 5 things you need to stop doing. I believe it was 5 things you need to do because it was targets. When you're building lineups, targets. Especially at running back, right? Isaiah Pacheco, no targets. At least we got 2 last week. I love the way that they're utilizing him. He's got touchdown upside. He passes the eyeball test, right? Brady's going to throw 30 flat routes in that game. That means 15 targets, you know? Like if Fournette's out, White becomes a core play, probably a cash game play, just because of his usage at that level. Zonovan Knight playing about 50% of the snaps, 8 targets the last 2 weeks. I would prefer Zonovan Knight in this game against Buffalo to Foreman for cash games. But I don't, like I said, I do not mind Foreman at all in tournaments because of that high ceiling. In tournaments, I don't care about what your floor is. All I care about is the ceiling opportunity. And we know that he has a chance to get a monster ceiling because he has a chance to get 25 plus opportunities. And that's the thing. Thoughts on Zonovan Knight now that Carter is back for GPP? They already showed us their hand. We've seen a game where Knight and Carter were both healthy and playing, and Knight outsnapped and outtouched Michael Carter that game. Bam Knight it's going to be a 3 running back monster. You're not going to get 70% of the touches out of Zonovan Knight. They don't view Carter as anything more than JD McKissic. And the fantasy community needs to stop trying to convince themselves that the Jets view Michael Carter as anything more than JD McKissic or Nyheim Hines. That's what he is. But there's this, I sense from what I see in the replies on videos, the questions on Twitch, my Twitter mentions that like people view him as though he's a bell cow back just waiting to happen, and the Jets are just waiting for the opportunity to do it, when everything that they've done for the last 12 months has shown us that they don't believe that, not even in the least bit. They drafted a running back right over the top of him in Breece Hall. Then Breece Hall got hurt and they still didn't give him bell cow usage. They traded for James Robinson for depth at that point, and they used a guy that none of us had even heard of 3 weeks ago over him in a game where they were both healthy until Carter went out. He's a pass down back. He's JD McKissic. And I also don't think that Zonovan Knight is going to play 70% of the snaps, right? So let's not have that be the takeaway either. Al said Zonovan Knight's the bell cow. No, Zonovan Knight's going to play, if they have 70 snaps this week, Zonovan Knight's going to play 30 to 40. And he's probably going to get 15 opportunities at 5,100. Who's my favorite in the Seattle backfield if Walker's out? I don't know. I'm probably just going to avoid the whole situation, to be very honest with you. If Walker's out, I will probably avoid everything. We have to wait for, he didn't practice Thursday. We have to wait for the Friday practice report, hoping that this is something that's not structural with Ken Walker, and then he'll be on the same stuff. Yeah, just stack Geno. Yeah, that's probably what I would do. Like, I'm just going to play the passing game. But like Travis Homer? Who is this Homer? Not going to hang my head on him. DJ Dallas? Non-participant at Thursday. What the hell crazy eyes are going on here? DJ, smile! For the love of God. Tony Jones Jr., we know that he's just a guy. No offense to Tony or his family, but like, they're just going to rotate guys through. He looks very surprised to be there. I'm surprised he's there too. DJ Dallas was reacting to how many crowns I have. God damn it. You have a Tony Jones Jr. Rainmaker card, so let's go with that. Look, hopefully he smashes for you. Honestly, I think if you wanted to play something from Seattle in the case that he's out, like, I'd probably just, and then obviously DK Metcalf limited Thursday due to a hip injury. So like, we'll see, like, whatever is going on there. We'll know by Sunday is really the key. But I'm probably not going to hang my hat on any of the Seattle running backs for that situation. Tony Jones, Dallas Cowboys, great. How dare you? My fault. Maybe they could play him over Ezekiel Elliott. Any Latavius Murray for GPP? I'm sure that if I don't make a rule that it's going to use Latavius Murray or Dulcich as a bring back play, because he's getting volume. If you had to play a quarterback naked in tournaments, I wouldn't. It's the wrong play. I just wouldn't do it. Is a 2,000 person contest considered a GPP? How wacky do you? Okay, so a tournament, because I still get asked this, even though I've answered it a million times over the years. Oh, Rainmakers? Yeah, Rainmakers do whatever you want. Probably hurts. I would play the one that projects higher. The Rainmakers just play the higher projected lineup. It's so short. Just play the higher projected lineup. A GPP is something where it pays out a small percentage of the field. Hold on. Here, I'm going to do it this way. Give me just a second. How do I size this? I'm going to do this in MS Paint. How do I size this? New? No. I want this larger. There. Be the whole screen. There we go. Now we're official. Okay? No, not a bell curve. How do I draw? Pencil? I don't want a pencil though. Size? You know this? Okay. So GPP. Bell curve time. Chat is really excited. So a GPP pays out a lot of money to first, and then it comes all the way down really steeply until it pays out kind of like to here. And this is like 20% of the people in the field. Okay, now we're going to switch to red. A cash game. Okay, so this is a GPP G. Okay, this is a GPP payout arc. Really, like a lot of money up top. This is first place. First. Okay, pays out 20%. A lot of money to first, way less money there. Let's go to red and let's do a cash game. A cash game pays out a flat fee. So you know what? No. I did this wrong. Let's use a line. So a cash game pays out a flat amount and pays out more people. See? Cash game, this is 20% here. The cash game pays out, let's say, 33+%. Usually to as much 50. Okay? So there you go. GPP, a lot of money up top. Really steep payout arc, only pays about 20% of the field. GPP flat payout arc, but pays 33 to 50% of the field. I hope that helped explain it. I don't care if y'all liked it. That was fun for me. Millionaire Maker final on New Year's is 2222, 2,300 entries, 20% get paid, lowest payout 3,500. Is that a contest where you're going to see a cash-like lineup since it's so high stakes? Still a GPP. You need to play it like a GPP. All the money's up top. There is no point in trying to finish with a min cash. If you want to finish with a min cash, just play a $2,000 50-50. You'll win the min cash, whether you come in first or you come in, 20th. Did I have assistance on that straight line? Yes, I just used the line function. I am the Michelangelo of DFS. If you guys have been around the channel long enough, you remember the bell curve, which y'all wanted to turn into an NFT. Do I feel like Elliott and Pollard together would make you different than the field? It would. That'll be. Let's let that be the last thing that we talk about in this, because I'm sure that people want to know, right? The question is, can I play Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott in the same lineup? And you could, but we're talking about probability and ceiling expectations. There's a finite amount of touchdowns that can be scored. There's a finite amount of touches that they can both have. And considering that Ezekiel Elliott last game, in a game that they won 54-19, had a touchdown, handled 54% of the running back snaps even after missing the first quarter of that game, and had 20 opportunities, scored 18.1 fantasy points. And Tony Pollard had 2 touchdowns that game, had 15 opportunities and 2 touchdowns. Yes, they play a really bad defense this week. They played a really bad defense last week too. The problem is you're not going to get this sort of an outcome because neither of them is going to get enough volume to do it. You'd have to get 4 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns out of them. One of them would have to reach 100 yards rushing. The other one would have to get there on a lot of passing. It's really, really thin, especially considering that there are other running backs in this range, from Joe Mixon 200 higher, who projects to get 25 opportunities in games where he's healthy and has multiple touchdown upside. In his stead, if he is not cleared, somebody like Samaje Perine, Ken Walker III, if he goes, DeAndre Swift, who had 20 opportunities last week and is in the best offensive environment of the week. It makes it extremely thin to think that you can get 50 total points out of this duo. You need 50 to 60 points out of this duo. If you're spending almost 13,000, you're gonna need 25 to 35 from both of them. And the path to that, when they're cannibalizing one another, they do not correlate well with each other. They in fact cannibalize each other's fantasy points. Now, we've seen it happen before with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, where one ran for 1, one ran for 3, one had 100 yards, the other one had 6 catches. It can happen where both of them end up in the same lineup on a tournament winning team, but it is highly unlikely, specifically on a week like this, where you would need 8 other options in the similar price range to fail for that to be viable over maybe one of them and one other player from that range. So I really hope that that helps. I know that it's not a definitive answer because there's no way that I can definitively answer anything dealing with the future with 100% certainty. I'm going to be wrong about some things. I'm going to be right about some other things, but it's really about the time and the effort and the attentiveness that you pay to the decisions that you're making. So I wish you the best of luck this weekend. Make sure that you jump over into the Discord, especially if you're a channel member. You get access to all those VIP rooms. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.